family group chat exploded at 2 a.m. Because who needs sleep when your sister's in love? Clara, the eternal romantic, had just announced a mandatory dinner to meet her boyfriend, Ethan, and his parents, and nobody was allowed to say no. Clara's text was a flurry of heart emojis and exclamation points, promising the most unforgettable night ever. Her family spread across generations and temperaments rolled their eyes but couldn't resist her infectious enthusiasm. The Garcias were a tight-knit crew, loud and opinionated, with a knack for turning every gathering into a debate or a dance party. This dinner, though, felt different. Clara, at 26, had never brought a boyfriend home before. She'd always been the dreamer, chasing fleeting passions art school, veganism, that ill-fated ukulele phase. But Ethan, she swore he was the one. Her family wasn't so sure. The dinner was set for Saturday at the Garcia family home, a cozy two-story house in suburban Chicago, where the scent of Mama Garcia's empanadas clung to the walls. Clara had spent days planning, obsessing over every detail: the table settings, the playlist, the lighting. She wanted perfection. Ethan, a soft-spoken architect with a disarming smile, had been her rock for 6 months. His parents, Margaret and Richard, were flying in from Boston proper, polished types who probably ironed their napkins. Clara was nervous but giddy, convinced this night would cement her future. Saturday arrived, and the Garcia house buzzed with chaos. Papa Garcia, a retired firefighter with a booming laugh, was grilling in the backyard, arguing with Uncle Manny about the best way to season carne asada. Mama Garcia, the family's heart, was fussing over her famous flan, muttering about Clara's fancy city boy. Clara's older brother, Javier, a cynical lawyer, lounged on the couch, betting his cousin Sophia that Ethan wouldn't last the night. Sophia, a college sophomore with a sharp wit, took the bet, mostly because she loved proving Javier wrong. The younger cousins, Mia and Diego, were chasing each other through the living room, ignoring their parents' pleas to act civilized. Clara floated through the chaos, her sundress twirling as she arranged flowers on the dining table. "This is it, guys," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. "Ethan's perfect. His parents are so sweet. You're all gonna love them." Javier raised an eyebrow. "We'll see, sis." Nobody survived Papa's interrogation. At 6 p.m., Ethan and his parents arrived. Ethan looked sharp in a blazer, his brown eyes warm but flickering with something unreadable. Margaret, his mother, carried herself like a retired ballerina, her smile polite but distant. Richard, his father, was all firm handshakes and clipped sentences, his suit screaming old money. The Garcias welcomed them with a tidal wave of warmth hugs, laughter, and a few too many questions. "So, Ethan," Papa Garcia started, passing him a beer. "What's your deal? You gonna take care of our Clara?" Ethan laughed, squeezing Clara's hand. "I'm trying, sir. She's the one keeping me in line." Clara beamed, but Margaret's smile tightened, her eyes darting to Richard. Something was off, but nobody noticed yet. Dinner began with a feast of empanadas, arroz con pollo, grilled vegetables, and Mama's flan waiting in the wings. The table was a symphony of clinking glasses and overlapping voices. Clara was in her element, telling stories about how she and Ethan met at a coffee shop, how he'd sketched her portrait on a napkin. Ethan played along, charming but reserved, his eyes scanning the room like he was waiting for a signal. Margaret and Richard were quieter, answering questions with practiced politeness. "Boston must be so different from here," Mama Garcia said, trying to draw them out. Margaret nodded. "It's quieter." Then it happened. Halfway through the meal, Ethan stood, tapping his glass with a spoon. The room fell silent, all eyes on him. Clara's face lit up, expecting a toast, maybe a sweet declaration of love. Javier leaned back, smirking, ready for a show. Ethan cleared his throat, his hands shaking slightly. "I, have something to say," he began, his voice cracking. "Clara, you're incredible. Your family's incredible. This night, it means everything. Clara's eyes sparkled, but Ethan's next words hit like a freight train. But I can't do this. I'm already married. The room froze. Clara's smile shattered, her fork clattering to the plate. Papa Garcia's face darkened, his grip tightening on his glass. Javier's smirk vanished, replaced by a scowl. Sophia gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Margaret and Richard stared at their plates, their silence deafening. Mia and Diego, too young to grasp the weight, whispered, "What's married?" Clara's voice was barely a whisper. "What did you say?" Ethan's face crumpled, his eyes pleading. "I'm so sorry. Clara, I didn't mean for it to go this far. I was separated when we met, but my wife and I were trying to work things out. I didn't know how to tell you." The room erupted. Papa Garcia slammed his fist on the table, shouting, "You bring this into my house!" Mama Garcia grabbed Clara's hand, her eyes blazing with protective fury. Javier stood, pointing at Ethan. "You got some nerve. Man, you think you can just waltz in here and break her heart, Sophia?" Usually quick with a quip, just stared, her bet with Javier forgotten. The younger cousin shrank back, sensing the storm. Clara, trembling, pulled her hand from Ethan's. "You're married." Her voice broke, raw with betrayal. "You let me plan this dinner, meet your parents, talk about our future, and you're married." Margaret finally spoke, her voice cold. "Ethan told us he'd ended things with you. We came to support him, to meet your family as a courtesy." Richard nodded, his face unreadable. "We thought you knew." Clara laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "A courtesy you thought I knew," she turned to Ethan, tears streaming down her face. "You made me believe in us. You let me dream." Ethan reached for her, but she recoiled. "Clara, I love you." "I didn't mean love," Javier cut in, stepping between them. "You don't get to say that word. Get out." Papa Garcia stood, his presence commanding. "You heard my son. Leave. Now." Ethan's parents rose, murmuring apologies, but Clara's family wasn't having it. Uncle Manny, usually the peacemaker, shook his head. "You don't get to just walk away clean. You hurt our girl." Margaret's composure cracked, her voice trembling. "We didn't know it was this serious," Ethan said. "Enough," Mama Garcia snapped. "You knew enough to let this happen." Ethan lingered, his eyes locked on Clara, but she turned away, her shoulders shaking. He left with his parents, the door slamming behind them. The silence that followed was suffocating. Clara sank into a chair, her face buried in her hands. Mama Garcia wrapped her arms around her, whispering, "You're enough, mija. You're more than enough." The rest of the night was a blur. Javier and Sofia cleaned up, their usual bickering replaced by quiet solidarity. Papa Garcia sat with Clara, telling her stories of his own heartbreaks, promising her she'd rise again. The younger cousins, sensing the mood, drew pictures to cheer her up, their crayons scratching softly in the background. Uncle Manny put on Clara's favorite salsa playlist, hoping to coax a smile, but the music felt hollow. Days turned into weeks, and Clara's light dimmed. She stopped painting, stopped singing, stopped dreaming. The family rallied around her, but the hurt lingered. Javier took her to therapy. Sophia dragged her to coffee shops, and Mama cooked her favorite meals. Slowly, Clara began to heal, piecing herself back together. She started painting again, her canvases filled with bold, angry strokes that softened into hope. One night, months later, Clara sat her family down. The dining table, once a battlefield, was now a sanctuary. "I'm okay," she said, her voice steady. "Ethan broke my heart, but he didn't break me. I'm stronger now, and I'm not giving up on love." Her family cheered, their love louder than any betrayal. Papa Garcia raised his glass. To Clara, our warrior. The Garcia house was alive again, filled with laughter, arguments, and the promise of new beginnings. Clara's heart, though scarred, beat fiercely. She'd learned that love wasn't just about romance. It was about family, resilience, and the courage to keep going. What do you think, was Clara's family right to rally around her so fiercely? Or should they have pushed her to confront Ethan further? Is forgiveness possible after such a betrayal? Or is cutting ties the only justice? Share your thoughts on love, trust, and second chances.